Have you heard about Anchor? Well, it's one of the easiest ways to create a podcast. Not only is it 100% free, but it has a variety of creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or a computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast to other sites such as Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many others for you. And Anchor even allows you to make money from your podcast without a required minimum listenership. So whether you've been in the podcasting game for a long time or you're completely new to it, Anchor is so user-friendly that it's basically your one-stop shop for making a podcast. So what are you waiting for? Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. You're listening to First Paso. Because sometimes you simply need someone to help you take that first paso.
Hello and welcome to First Paso, a show where we learn together how to take that first paso towards becoming the best versions of ourselves. My name is Candace Olushala, and today I am in my hometown in Kentucky and have had the coolest opportunity to go back to my home school, public school system to speak to the kids in 8th grade. And then I spoke to a group of girls from 6th through 12th grade, as well as getting to be the speaker for the mother-daughter banquet. I got to speak to them on a topic that is actually really foundational to my platform. And I wanted to actually do a series on this because so many kids, after I spoke with them about this, had questions about this process that I'm going to unpack with you guys over the next 5 weeks. And so this is going to be a mini series that I'm doing on being extraordinary and uncommon. Now, I say this phrase, and it's actually a phrase that my mom came up with when I was in high school. And being extraordinary and uncommon means to go beyond what is usual, regular, or customary in a manner that is not ordinarily encountered. So basically, being rare and unique and being confident in that and showcasing that uniqueness to the world. And so this series is going to be on being extraordinary and uncommon and unlocking the greatness that is within you already. And I'm going to talk to you about these 5 keys. These are 5 keys that I figured out in college. And I told these kids that I wish that someone had come to me when I was 14 years old in one of the most emotionally overwhelming years of my life and imparted these words of wisdom with me. And so I'm paying it forward. And I figured if this is something I wanted these kids to know, and it's something that I learned in my young adult life, then maybe some of you guys would want to learn this too. And so of the 5 keys of being extraordinary and uncommon and unlocking your greatness that is already inside of you, the first key is acknowledgement. So what are we acknowledging? I'm going to bank that some of you listening today probably have things about you that you might not like, or there might be things that people in your life have pointed out that they don't like about you. Maybe this is something that stems all the way back from childhood that has just sat with you. That one person who said that one thing, and it has changed the trajectory of how you see your life. Maybe it was an insecurity that you've had, and you've never been able to shake it off or see a reason for it to not be true. Some of those insecurities for me had been feeling like I was the black sheep of the family, feeling like I was worthless, that I was unloved and undesirable. believing that I wasn't as smart as the rest of my family. Really just believing that I was the least wanted by even God himself. Not that he didn't love me, but that out of everyone, I would be considered the least of these, if you will. And I fought so hard in my life trying to figure out why God would make me to be this wretched. It's a harsh word, but it was my reality. And I felt discounted, even just disgusting, not beautiful, never gonna be beautiful. I saw myself as sickly since I had so many health issues from the time I was born that I was constantly battling, and that led to me feeling like a burden. So this acknowledgement piece, it's acknowledging the things that emotionally and mentally overwhelm you, about your circumstances. Or maybe these are the things that you actually spend all of your energy trying to pretend like those things are no longer a problem, that you've suppressed them so far down inside of you that you don't even want to think about those things. In fact, you've maybe even convinced yourself that you're over these things. But I encourage you to not rest your head in the lap of your fears and your insecurities. Or rather, don't place your fears and insecurities in your closet and thinking that they've gone away. They're not gone. You've just hidden them as best as you can. You've convinced yourself that you've hidden them, but it's spilling out in ways that you're not maybe honest with yourself about, or maybe you don't recognize, but other people recognize it when they've encountered you. So the first key of unlocking your greatness and becoming extraordinary and uncommon is to acknowledge the fact that you are probably dealing with these things. Just acknowledging them. I'm not saying, again, to rest your head in them, to fall asleep on those things, to get comfortable planting yourself in those issues, those negative thoughts or emotions towards yourself, towards the perception of yourself. You deserve so much more than to walk around lying to yourself, convincing yourself that your lie is now truth. If anything, you deserve the whole truth and nothing but the truth. The unadulterated truth, and that starts with you. Choosing to acknowledge that there are some things that have been sitting with you for as long as you can remember. Things that have been poking and prodding at your insecurities in ways that nothing else has. Things that you've been so scared about. Things that you've been so afraid to speak up on. Maybe it was that person who inappropriately crossed a boundary with you. An uninvited boundary. If that's a thing, I'm so sorry. Me too. Maybe it was that parent who never came back and feeling like, well, if my parent won't come back for me, then maybe no one will. Maybe it's that feeling that maybe you can't fix everything. That you thought that you had everything under control, and then the next minute you're left with a surprise that jolts you so much that makes you question if you're able to live a better life and do better than before. Like you thought you had figured out the reasons why things before weren't working, and you poured all your heart and soul into that, and even still, with all of your efforts, it didn't work. And so now you feel like, well, then maybe my life will just always end up turning into a disappointment. Maybe you got news of something that you were dreading to hear, and it has just sent you to another dimension and has even triggered some things about yourself that you really didn't want to have to think about again or process again. And here we are, because this news came up unexpected, and now you have to face the music that you thought you had turned off a long time ago. Whatever those things are, do yourself a favor and acknowledge them. Maybe get a piece of paper and just write down the list. Write down that list. Write it in a journal. And I wouldn't say burn it up. Not yet. I want you to wait to get through steps 2 through 5, these upcoming keys that I'll unpack with you over the next few weeks. But don't quite put that paper away. Write the list and get ready to go on a journey. I want to congratulate you. If you've already gotten that piece of paper out and you're ready to start writing, I'm proud of you. Those of you that are contemplating, take your time. But the sooner you start, the sooner your ability to walk free in this world, to just be who you truly are and have been created to be, the sooner that'll happen. And we want that version of you in the world. So, key number 1, acknowledge. Acknowledge the fears, the insecurities, anything that makes you feel lesser than, the resentment, the anger, the trauma, the frustration, anything that has affected you in a negative way, emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, holistically. Acknowledge it, write it down, and take your time, because there might be things that you write down today that you won't think about writing down until tomorrow. So keep that list, because we're going to address this list, and we're going to address it together. I won't leave you alone in this journey. In fact, if you actually want someone to walk through this journey with you, it's something that I do with my coaching clients weekly. And just seeing how things that they need to acknowledge come up in different conversations that we have. One thing we'll talk about, and the next thing you know, it triggers another thing that they realize we need to acknowledge this. Even just to sit in the space of the acknowledgement and how it makes you feel and how it makes you think and process. It's so powerful to even make this first step and grab this first key and watch how it shows up in different stages depending on what the conversation is and where it goes. There's always something to unpack. The sooner the better. And so if you want someone to actually go through this process with you, message me. I would love to coach you. I would love to make sure that you're not alone in this process. But if just coming here week to week through this little series to unpack and find out who you truly are on the other side of your perceived self, I'm right here with you. You're not alone. And it's going to be okay. I can say that because I'm living that. And this first step felt huge when I did it. But looking back, it was so worth it. So I'm calling to your heart. I'm speaking to your mind. I'm speaking to all of you. Maybe tonight is just grabbing the piece of paper and putting the pen there. And that's the step you can make today. If that's it, I'm proud of you. Maybe it's just writing the bullets down, but not actually writing the words next to them, just to prepare. I'm proud of you. Maybe it's opening up a Word document or a note in your phone and labeling it acknowledgement. I'm proud of you. So come back next week and we'll unpack key number 2. But that's it for today's episode, because I know it's kind of heavy, might be jolting, a bit triggering to do this. And so I want you to have that space, that time to really process this and to think of your decisions, and maybe come back in weeks later after the series is done and say, I think I'm ready now. Or maybe hit me up in the DMs or email me way down the road and say, I think I'm ready now. I just actually had a client do that who we had talked about this in the fall. And they were like, yeah, I think that would be good for me. And I didn't hear from them at all. And then last month they reached out and said, you know what? I think now is the time. And we've started, and we've only had like 2 or 3 conversations, and the breakthroughs, literal tears flowing of just, oh, I needed this, and I have been waiting for someone to talk with me through this. That's what this process does. And they came to me when they were ready. And so if you need to come back here later, if you need to reach out to me later, do that. It is fine. But that is literally the whole episode today. And each time it'll get a little bit better, I promise, if you just stay the course. I'm going to be in Ecuador for the next month, and I'll be recording these episodes, and I'll also get to share and unpack my time when I come back with you. But these episodes will be ready for you before I leave, but they'll be released throughout the next couple of weeks. And when I come back, I'll get to share all the things that have happened in Ecuador while I'm gone, and some of the cool things that'll be coming up when I come back. But I'm just excited to do this with you. If you have any questions that you want addressed here, especially since episode 100 is coming up soon, can't wait for that. Would love to hear from you and address some of your questions that you have. And I still have secrets coming up soon. I've alluded to some of them. They're still in the works. It's probably still going to be a little bit of time, but we're moving, we're grooving, we're making strides. So thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. You can hit me up, text me at 859-800-3396 for those of you who are in the US. And you can email me at hola, HOLA, at firstpaso.com. Feel free to hit me up on any social media at Candace Olushala, or go to my website at www.firstpaso.com if you're looking for a keynote speaker, a guest for your workplace, your school, some kind of motivational speaker, event, host, MC, any of those things. I love getting to speak, and I've had such great opportunities so far, especially in the last few weeks. I'll share some of those things a little bit more intimately, but I want to serve you guys as best as I can. Anyway, love you guys. Take care. Stay safe. And we'll talk soon. Bye, guys.